everyone, I'm Ashley at the Silver Bay Public Library, and I am back once again with a story time for you guys. As you may know, our theme of the week, if you will, as part of our summer reading program is ancestry. And while I'm not going to track back my own ancestry, aka talk about my family, or yours, I'm going to talk about other characters, and talk about some of the different families there may be, and yeah, just different topics relating to where people come from and things like that. So, without much further ado, we're going to dive right in with our first book called I Am Violet by Tanya Dupree Stenek and Vanya Violeta Jovanovic. People come in a rainbow of colors. Some are red, like my mom. Some are blue, like my dad. But I'm a mix of the two. Take red and add blue, you get violet, like me. I am proud to be both. I am proud to be me, for I am violet. And now, obviously, that was very short, but just as a reminder, you come from both your parents. You are a mix of them, and that's how families work. Alright, now that was a quick little overview for you guys, I'm going to read A New Home by Tanya de Riegel. I'm not quite sure how to say her name. But Mom and Dad told me that we are moving to Mexico City. Mama and Papa told me that we are moving to New York. But I'm not sure I want to leave my home because I'm going to miss lots of things. Like listening to my favorite song on my way to school in the morning, and getting something delicious to eat on my way home in the afternoon. Cheering loudly for our team to win at the stadium. And spending nights out watching the dancers at the concert hall. But what if there is nowhere for me to play in my new city? These pesky pages. Or no place for my class to explore our past. I know my home can be hard on some people, and sometimes it can be very noisy. But I'll miss all the fun we have around the city in the summer. And I'll also miss playing with my friends. I hope my life won't be so different in my new city. I really hope I like my new home. And that was the story of A New Home. And I'm sorry, this may not have made that much sense since it's kind of hard to see the photos. But this little girl was from Mexico City. This boy was from New York. And they didn't realize that their cities are very similar because places all around the world are very similar. They just have different touches to them. Slightly different, but still the same at heart. The next story is Me, Toma, and the Concrete Garden by Andrew Larson and Anne Villeneuve. I'm sorry, I'm very bad at pronunciation of names. These pesky pages are just getting the best of me today. There's a box of dirt balls on my Aunt Mimi's balcony, which is kind of weird if you ask me. Why do you have dirt balls out here, I ask her. They were a present from a secret admirer, she says, with a twinkle in her eye. I was hoping they'd be chocolates. I still don't know what to do with them. Are you sure this secret person even likes you, I say? They gave you a box of dirt. We both burst out laughing at the thought of it. I'm staying with Mimi for most of my summer. My mom had an operation. It's nothing serious, but she has to take it easy for a while. When I arrived at Mimi's, she said we could paint the guest room. I got to choose the color, but I couldn't decide, so she let me choose two. We painted stripes. Most everything else is pretty gray around here, though, and it doesn't look like it will be much of a summer. I already miss home. One day I noticed a kid throwing a ball against the tall brick wall by the empty lot. He looks up and waves. Why don't you wave back? Mimi asks. I don't even know him, I tell her. Not yet, she replies. When I see the kid out there again the next day, I grab as many dirt balls as I can hold and run downstairs. Do you want to throw some dirt balls with me? I ask him when I get to the tall brick wall. Dirt balls, he asks back. My aunt said she'd pay us to get rid of these, I explain. We can throw them into the empty lot, then we can get some ice cream. Want to? I guess, says the boy, a little unsure. You live around here? I'm staying with my aunt, I say, pointing to Mimi's balcony. I'm Vincent. I live over there, he says, pointing to a balcony a few floors above Mimi's. I'm Toma. The dirt balls sail over the tall brick wall and land in the empty lot. When we've pitched the last of them, we throw Toma's ball against the wall and try to catch it as it bounces back. We get up to 42 catches without dropping it. Do you want some ice cream, I ask? Sounds good, he says. It's hot out here. We head over to the ice cream truck parked in front of the building. Toma gets chocolate, I get strawberry. Toma tells me about some of the other kids from his neighborhood. I tell him about some of the kids from mine. We make a plan to meet up again and throw more dirt balls. Hey, shouts a grumpy-looking man watering the plants on his balcony the next day. What are you kids throwing into that lot? Dirt balls, I answer. The man looks surprised. What's with Mr. Grumpy Pants? Toma says to me as he throws the last of the dirt balls. Maybe he thinks we're littering, I suggest. But we're actually recycling, Toma says with a grin. We're putting the dirt back where it belongs. He should be happy. Toma and I met by the tall brick wall almost every morning. Our new record for throwing the ball against the wall and catching it without dropping it is 95. It won't be long before we crack 100. And we read lots of comics. Toma has a huge collection. We often see Mr. Grumpy Pants on his balcony watering his plants. Sometimes Mimi gives us money for ice cream. Toma always gets chocolate, and I always get strawberry. The days fly by. On rainy days like today, Toma and I usually hang out at Mimi's, and as usual, there's Mr. Grumpy Pants on his balcony, but today for some reason he's waving at us and pointing to the empty lot below. We look down. It's green. So there was something special about those dirt balls after all, Mimi says with a laugh. They must have had seeds in them, I say. What kind of seeds? Asks Toma. I guess we'll know soon enough, says Mimi. Across the way, Mr. Grumpy Pants is giving us a big thumbs up. We give him 3 thumbs up back. It turns out that Mr. Grumpy Pants isn't so grumpy after all. His name is Marco. He helps Toma and me hook up a hose so we can water the garden through the fence every morning, and he knows a lot about gardening. He teaches us the name of the flowers as they start to grow. There's crimson clover, snapdragon, poppy, lemon mint, black-eyed Susans, he says. There's even some milkweed. Butterflies are going to love it here. Marco was right. Butterflies love our garden. I have some good news, Vincent, said Mimi one afternoon, putting her arms around me. I was just talking with your mom. She's feeling much better. She's coming to bring you home this weekend. But who will take care of the garden, I ask. We all will, says Mimi with a squeeze. I promise, and you can come back to visit next summer. I'm really happy my mom is better, but there's a little part of me that's sad. I'll miss Mimi and Toma, and I'll probably even miss Marco. A year feels like a long time. There he is catching the ball by himself, looking out the window, looking at plants. Pesky pages. But finally, it's summer again. My mom and I are staying with Mimi for a little vacation. We're calling her place Camp Mimi. I brought Mimi a box of chocolates. And I brought some seeds. Toma and I are going to make our own dirt balls. We're going to see what else we can grow. The empty lot is now full, is a full garden. Oh, how adorable. It's a community garden. But that's the story of me, Toma, and the concrete garden. Because who knew you could plant such beautiful flowers in such a concrete place? But anyway, that's definitely a place where a lot of people live, is in the bigger cities, where it is just a lot of concrete. But it can still be just as beautiful as up north here, where we have plants and trees all over the place. now we have a story that is most definitely more on the immigration ancestry side, because it's Gittle's journey and Ellis Island story. A lot of people come into our country through Ellis Island, especially in the past. And it's a story by Lycia Newman and pictures by Amy June Bates. So let's learn about her journey. Gittel, will you write to me from America? Reza asked. Yes, Gittel answered. Gittel. And you can write back and tell me how Frida likes living with you. Gittel turned to Mama, who was standing in the doorway, wiping one of her eyes with the worn white handkerchief she always kept in her pocket. Can't we take Frida with us? She asked for the 100th time. No, Gittel, Mama replied. Also, for the 100th time, we cannot bring a goat to America. Now come inside and set the table. The sun is about to set, and it's time to light the candles for Shabbos. Mama lit the tall white candle, and she and Gittel circled their hands 3 times to gather in the Sabbath light. Together they sang the blessing, and then they sat down to eat. The next morning, Gittel pulled on a heavy woolen skirt and sweater, 2 pairs of socks, and her winter coat and boots. Mama handed her a sack that held 2 apples, a large chunk of bread, and a small wedge of cheese. Farewell, Risa. Sei gesund. It looks like there's language in here that I don't quite know the pronunciation of, so bear with me. Gittel kissed Reza on the cheek, and they hugged Reza's mama, papa, and baby brother. Sei gesund, Frida. Gittel gave the little white goat one last pat on the head and then turned away. Mama had told Gittel that she would have to be very brave, so she blinked her eyes and tried not to cry. Mama blinked her eyes too and dabbed at them with her handkerchief. Then she and Gittel started off. Wait, Gittel, Reza called. Basha wants to come with you. Reza held out the rag doll she and Gittel loved to play with. Gittel looked at Mama, who had made her leave her own rag doll and so many other things behind. It's all right, Gittel, Mama blinked and wiped her eye again. Say thank you to Reza. Ashenem dank, Gittel said, as she tucked the small doll into her coat pocket. And then she and Mama set off on their long walk to the port. Many other people were making their way toward the seacoast. Some were on foot, some sat on donkeys, and a few rode in horse-drawn carts. When Gittel and her mother arrived at the port, they entered a big building and stepped into line. Stay close to me, Mama said, taking Gittel's hand, and do just as I tell you. I will, Mama, Gittel said. There were many people jostling about, and one of them pushed Gittel right up against her mother's soft woolen coat. It tickled her nose, and she sneezed loudly. Gittel, her mother hissed. No sneezing. Why? Gittel asked. What was wrong with sneezing? Mama gave Gittel a stern look. You must be as quiet as a mouse, Mama whispered, and not draw attention to yourself. Soon, Gittel and her mother reached the head of the line. Stick out your tongue, a burly man with a bristly beard ordered Gittel. Blink your eyes, show me your hands. Gittel did as she was told. The man nodded and then turned to Mama. What is wrong with your eye? It's nothing, said Mama. I shed a few tears over leaving my home. Surely you can understand that. I understand, all right, the man said. Dry your eye and come back to me. The man turned to the next person in line, while Mama wiped her running eye. Then she returned to the man. Your eye is still red. It is an infection. Your request to go to America is denied. But, next. The man turned his back. Mama pulled at the man's sleeve. Sir, she pleaded. Go home, the man brushed Mama's hand off his sleeve like a crumb of cheddar. Next. Come, Mama, let's go home, said Gittel, smiling at the thought. Won't Reza and Frida be surprised? Gittel. Mama put her hands on Gittel's shoulders and looked her in the eye. Home is not safe for us. You are going to America to have a better life. By myself? Gittel's voice came out in a squeak. She was only 9 years old. How could she go to America without Mama? You must be very brave, Gittel. Take this. Mama handed her a small cloth bundle. My Shabbos candlesticks are wrapped inside. Be careful not to lose them, and here is your ticket, and this. Mama handed Gittel a folded piece of paper. This is my cousin's name and address. Do not lose this paper. When you get to America, show it to an immigration officer. He will help you find my cousin. Mendel is expecting us. He will welcome you. But Mama... Shane Mendel. No crying. Mama held up a finger. Do you want your eye to get infected like mine? Then you won't be able to go either. I don't want to go. I want to stay here with you. Mama said again, folding Gittel's hand around the piece of paper. This is God's plan. God will take care of you. Gittel stepped into line. The ship was so big, it made Gittel feel very, very small. An officer took her ticket, pinned an identification tag onto her coat, and waved her on board. Gittel scurried up a steep staircase and pushed her way to the front of the crowd. She grabbed onto the ship's cold, wet railing with one hand, and with the other, tightly clenching the paper, she waved until the ship pulled away from the dock and Mama was out of sight. Gittel held onto the piece of paper with the name and address of Mama's cousin, just as Mama had told her to. She gripped it tightly while she stood in line with her dinner pail, and she carefully placed it on her lap as she sat down on a hard wooden bench to eat her herring and soup. "Come play cards with my brother and me," a Yiddish-speaking girl called to Gittel. She pushed the piece of paper down into her skirt pocket and went to join their game. Later, she made sure the paper was still safely tucked away as she clapped along to a lively tune some jolly men were singing, even though she didn't understand a word. Gittel spent many lonely hours sitting on her berth, talking to Basha. "I miss Reza," she said to the little rag doll. "I miss Frida, I miss Mama," Gittel wailed. When Shabbos arrived, Gittel cried an ocean of tears. She had Mama's candlesticks, but no candles. Mom had candles, but no candlesticks. Candles and candlesticks belonged together just as she and Mama belonged together. Gittel shut her eyes and sang the Sabbath blessing softly to herself. It only made her sadder. The journey continued, and Gittel continued holding on to her piece of paper. She slid it under her pillow at night as she lay on her scratchy straw mattress, longing for Mama to sing her a lullaby, and she squeezed it during the day as she sat on her metal berth, worrying about her new life in America. "What if Mama's cousin Mendel doesn't like me?" Gittel asked Basha. "What if my new teacher doesn't like me? What if English is too hard to learn? What if I never see Mama again?" Gittel stared into Basha's shiny black button eyes looking for answers, but Basha had no reply. One morning there was a big commotion on the boat. Gittel scrambled up on deck to see what all the excitement was about. "Look, look!" Everyone pointed in the same direction as a great cheer arose. "There she is!" "Who?" Gittel asked. "The Statue of Liberty," said a man standing beside Gittel as he waved his cap in the air and wept. "She's welcoming us to America." Gittel looked across the water and gasped at the sight of an enormous woman rising out of the ocean wearing a crown and holding a torch high in the air. She was the most astonishing thing that Gittel had ever seen, and she wished Mama were standing beside her so she could see the enormous woman, too. These pesky pages. Soon the ship pulled into the harbor and its loud, shrill whistle blew. Gittel placed Basha inside her coat pocket next to her note from Mama and rushed down the gangplank with all the other passengers. Their boots and shoes made quite a clatter. Gittel stepped off the ship, happy to feel solid ground beneath her feet for the first time in 2 weeks. Soon she found herself on board another boat, a small, crowded barge heading for Ellis Island. Cold ocean spray smacked Gittel in the face, and when she licked her lips, she tasted salt. But she didn't mind. Any minute now she would be in America. When the barge docked, Gittel got off the ship and joined a crowd trudging up a steep stairway into a giant room filled with so many people speaking so loudly in so many languages that Gittel couldn't understand a thing. At the top of the stairs, a doctor hastily looked her over and quickly waved her through. Gittel waited in line until finally she stood before a man wearing thick glasses. He sat on a tall chair, scowling down at her and barking sharp, unfamiliar words. She wanted to run away, but Mama had told her to be brave, so she took a deep breath and stayed where she was. The man shouted again, and then another man stepped over, glancing at the identification tag pinned to her coat, and spoke. "Wie heißt du?" asked the man. Hearing the familiar Yiddish words made Gittel feel a little less afraid. "Ich heiße Gittel," she replied. "Please take me to my Mama's cousin." She handed the interpreter the piece of paper Mama had given her back home. "His name is Mendel. Here is his address." The interpreter unfolded the paper and looked at it. He turned it over, then he turned it back. "There is no address here," he said to Gittel in a gentle voice. "Yes, there is," Gittel said. "My mama wrote it down for me." "See for yourself," said the interpreter. Gittel looked at the piece of paper. There was nothing on it but a fat blue smear. The immigration officer wearing thick glasses pointed to Gittel's hand, which was spotted with ink, and muttered something to the interpreter. "What is this Mendel's last name?" the interpreter asked. I don't know," Gittel answered. "What will I do?" Tears spilled from her eyes. "Shah," said the interpreter, "don't cry. We will take care of you." Giddle stayed where she was while the kind interpreter spoke to one immigrant after another in many different languages. When Giddle grew tired, the interpreter pulled out a chair so she could sit next to the scowling immigration officer. When Giddle grew hungry, the interpreter gave her a bowl of soup, and when Giddle grew bored, the interpreter whisked the immigration officer's cap off his head and placed it on Giddle's with a laugh. "Say, that would make a swell picture," said a man with a large camera who snapped Giddle's photo. "That gives me an idea," the interpreter said. That night, Giddle lay on a thin mattress in a dormitory on Ellis Island, surrounded by strangers. She had no pillow, so she put her lumpy cloth bundle under her head, clutching Basha tightly, and cried herself to sleep. The next day, the interpreter came to find her. He had a big smile on his face and a folded Jewish newspaper tucked under his arm. "Do you recognize this, Shane Meidel?" he asked Giddle, pointing to the paper. "It's me," Giddle cried, amazed to see her photo on the very front page. That afternoon, the interpreter brought a man to see her. It was Mama's cousin Mendel come to take her home. "I saw you in the paper and recognized you right away," Mendel said to her. "You look just like your mama." Uncle Mendel said the paper sent Mama the newspaper so she could see how famous Giddle had become. He helped Giddle write a letter to Reza, too. Months passed before Giddle received a letter back from Mama. "My eye is all healed," Mama wrote. "I will see you soon." And a few weeks later, she stepped through the gates of Ellis Island to gather Giddle into her arms. "Come, Mama." Giddle kissed Mama's cheek, stepped back, and took her by the hand. "Let's go home. The sun is about to set, and it's time to light the candles for Shabbos." And that is the story of Giddle's journey, an Ellis Island story. And that's exactly how a lot of people have come into this country. Maybe even some of your ancestors. So make sure you stop by the library to get a packet, and maybe you can talk to your parents about where your family came from too. Maybe you have maybe someone in your past, maybe a grandparent has a fun story like Giddle's. So make sure to talk to your family about that, because it can be very interesting. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. Come back on Wednesday for some more fun stories about just the differences of people and where we may come from. I hope you guys enjoyed the story time. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for listening. Make sure to stop in at the library and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.